Turbo drafting. Turbo drafting is an alternative to drafting when establishing a water supply in an area that does not have a positive pressure water source. Just like drafting, those water sources are static water sources, which includes lakes, canals, and ponds, saltwater sources, portable water tanks, and swimming pools. The challenges and safety considerations of turbo drafting remain the same as with drafting, although the major benefit of turbo drafting is the distance from the water source can be greatly increased, up to 200 feet under ideal conditions. Always remember, with turbo drafting and drafting, it's imperative to keep the lift and the distance down to an absolute minimum. As the distance and the lift increase, the available fire flow decreases. Setup and operation. The unit requires a 2.5-inch discharge line from the truck and a 5-inch supply line returning water to the fire pump. Before connecting hoses to the turbo draft, inspect the unit to be sure that no debris has entered the inlet or discharge openings. Stretch and connect the lines near the water's edge, avoiding any sharp bends or kinks. Several crews have found it beneficial to affix the turbo draft to a roof ladder. This aids in deploying and retrieving the turbo draft. The turbo draft can be placed a few rungs from the butt of the ladder. This keeps it off the bottom and out of the debris. A float ball can also be affixed in order to prevent a whirlpool from forming above the inlet of the turbo draft. Move the turbo draft to the water's edge. It may take several people to accomplish this task. Even though the roof ladder is not a necessary part of the deployment of the turbo draft, you may find it useful in getting it past any vegetation that grows along the water's edge. You can use a New York hook as a fulcrum to try and push the turbo draft further out into the water and get it past any vegetation that grows along the bank. Submerge the turbo draft in 2 to 3 feet of standing water. You can also deploy the roof ladder hooks to hold the turbo draft in place. Operation of the turbo draft. The engine should be placed in pump gear and the truck prepared for pumping operations. The intake valve should be closed at this time. Open the bleeder valve if there is one on the suction intake to allow air to escape. Open the tank to pump valve and increase the engine pressure to 175 psi. Open the 2.5-inch discharge supplying the turbo draft unit and maintain the discharge pressure of 175 psi. This is required to start the suction flow back to the truck. As the 2.5-inch line is charged, the 5-inch line will immediately start to fill. Close the bleeder once water reaches it and slowly open the suction intake valve. Close the tank to pump valve. At this point, the truck's tank should be refilled. Open the tank fill valve a quarter to half open and allow the tank to fill. The truck tank should always be kept full to allow the water supply to be re-established if necessary. Once the tank is full, close the tank fill valve and slowly open the required discharge valve. Maintain the required pressure on the turbo draft 2.5-inch line at all times. Always be ready to open the tank to pump valve in case at any time there's a loss of draft. Shutdown procedures include refilling your tank, throttling down, and shutting down all the valves used in the turbo draft operation. Don't forget to open tank to pump and close the main LDH inlet valve.